For today's session, what we are going to do is that I'm quickly going to draft you the basic blocks that we have spoken about. So we will be doing the drafting of the basic bodice, basic sleeve, and basic skirt. So there are certain measurements that you need if you want to draft this. Can you please write this down? I hope you everybody has a copy and pen. Please write this down. Yes, everybody has it. Okay, so for the bodice, the measurements that you need are the center back length. Center back length, how do we measure? We measure from the nape point. Nape point, I hope everybody remembers the landmarks that we have spoken about. Nape point is at the back of your neck. So हम जो जहाँ पे neck measure करते हैं, where exactly at the back of it is the nape point. From the nape to your waist. Again, you remember how to measure the waist. जहाँ पे I asked you to tie a tape, and wherever it sits, the smallest part is the waist. So from nape to waist, you measure as the center back. Is this clear to everybody? One by one, I'll tell what are the measurements you have to take.
Yes, ma'am.
The first one that we are taking is the nape to waist, the center back length. Next, we are going to take the bust girth. Bust girth is where the measurement is the highest. So we take the second measurement as the bust girth. The third measurement that you are going to take is the waist girth, wherever the tape is sitting. So the waist girth is the third measurement. The fourth measurement that you're taking is the neck girth. You remember I showed you how to take the neck girth. So at the base of the neck, you will take the neck girth. Next you take the shoulder length. Shoulder length कैसे लेना है? जहाँ पे highest है तो highest shoulder point to lowest shoulder point is your shoulder length. So the fourth measurement that we are talking about is the shoulder length. The next measurement we are taking is the across back. So at the middle of your armhole, at the back, you're taking the across back. At the middle of the front, armhole to armhole, we are taking our across front. So these are the 7 measurements that you need for the bodice. Did everybody write it down?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. For the sleeve, the basic sleeve, the measurements that we need is first one is the sleeve length. How to take the sleeve length from the lowest shoulder point till wherever you want your sleeve to be. For now, we will be making a full sleeve. So till the base of your wrist, you will take the sleeve length. Okay. The next measurement we are going to take is the bicep. So bicep is where our armhole, if we stand straight, our armhole wherever it is falling straight perpendicularly to the floor, we are going to take the bicep girth. Okay, is this clear? The bicep girth. Next we are going to take our wrist girth. I've spoken about the wrist girth. यहाँ पे जो measurement होगा, that is our wrist girth. So these are the 3 measurements that you need for your bodice from the body. Apart from that, we are also going to take few measurements which will come from the bodice. So we will make the bodice first. From the bodice, we will take few measurements to make the sleeve. Okay. Finally, we are going to work on the skirt. So for the skirt, the first measurement that you need is the hip girth. We already have the waist girth from our bodice, so you can write it down that you also need the waist girth for your skirt, but then you already have it because you have already made by this time. Once we reach to the skirt, you would already have your bodice measurements. So the first measurement is waist girth. The second measurement is the hip girth. Okay, hip girth, where it will be the hip girth wherever in the lower part of the body the measurement, the girth, the circular measurement would be maximum is the waist girth. Okay, next we need the length of which the skirt you want to make in. Okay, so for now we will be making a knee length skirt. So from the waist wherever the tape sits till the knee, you will take the measurement, so the length of the skirt. Is this clear to all? These are the 3 measurements that you would need for skirt. Is this clear? 7 for bodice, 3 for sleeve, and 3 for skirt. Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay. Then please give me a moment. Let me connect through a second device. I will show you how to make this. I will be making mini patterns. When I say mini patterns, these are essentially I would be making it proportionally smaller so that you can see it online. However, when you are making it, I'll tell you what are the things you have to do. You are making it, you have to do it in the real size. Okay. So let me just connect another device and we will just give me 1 minute. Is the is the page visible now?
No, ma'am.
Admin, please put it on the the center place. Admin, if you can please put the display at the center, and or students, you can pin the screen. It will become bigger. Can you do that?
Ma'am, it is not getting there.
Ignore Classroom. Can you please put the second screen as the center? Maybe I can. Okay. Can now is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this is better. Okay. So here I have A4 sheets. So I will be making in this size. However, for your case, please make sure you work on real size patterns. I'll show you the practical workbook as well, and it will be easier for you to work from that. Okay. So we start by the measurements that I have already. We are starting by bodice. I'm using a marker pen so that it is visible better to you. Uh, Please use pencil because otherwise you might get something wrong. You would not be able to, erase it and all. Okay, so the first measurement we spoke about was the center back length. We are going to start by making a rectangle. So the height of this rectangle is the center back length plus 2 centimeters. So this is center back plus 2 centimeters. Okay. The length of the rectangle. This part is your half bust girth. We have the bust girth here. So this is half bust girth. With this, I will add a little ease to it. You remember we spoke about allowance, ease allowance, which helps the garment to fit a little better, a little more comfortable.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So with this, I'm going to add a little ease. How much ease I'm going to add? I'm going to add 1 inch to it, or 2.5 centimeters.
So whatever bust girth you're getting, add 1 inch to it. Half the bust girth and add 1 inch to it. I'm going to complete this rectangle and then simply divide the rectangle into two halves. So in one side, I'm going to make the front. In the second side, I'm going to make the back. So I'm going to make the front on the right side and back on the left side. So that is what defines the both the sides of the rectangle. Okay. So from the right top corner, you remember we took it as center back plus 2 centimeters. So from the top corner, I'm going to reduce, mark a point at 2 centimeters. So just let me give some marking which makes this easy. 1, 0 to 1 is your center back plus 2 centimeter. 0 to 2 is your bust girth, half of bust girth plus 1 inch. 0 to 3 is your 2 centimeters which we have dropped. This 3 point will mark your nape. Okay. So this is where your nape comes. This is why we took the 2 centimeter down. Okay. If you are not getting something, if you want to repeat, please stop me then and there so that I can repeat that process, because if I go ahead by few steps, then it will be difficult for me to go back. Okay. So from here, again from the point 0, we are going to mark a point. This point is, so we have also taken neck girth. Okay. So this neck girth by 5. We are going to take a point which is neck girth by 5. Let's mark this point as 4. Yes. We are going to do the same for the front as well. So from 2, we will mark another point which is neck girth by 5. Okay. From Let's mark this point 5. From 2, we are going to go down and again mark neck girth by 5. Let's mark this point 6. Okay. Is this clear till now, everybody?
It's the centimeter you are taking.
You can
Or
take anything. Whatever measurements you are taking, you can take in inches, you can take in centimeter, whichever. I'm taking neck girth. Whatever measurement you have got. I have initially we spoke about the measurements that you need to take, right? So the first measure, one of the measurements that we have spoken about is the neck girth. Yes.
I missed it a little bit.
You missed it a little bit. Beta, you have to go back to the recording. So the neck girth is, I last class I also showed you how to measure neck girth.
Yes, ma'am.
So, so you have to take the neck girth. You have to please go back to the recording, see what are the measurements that you have to take. Anyways, so for this point, we are taking neck girth by 5 inches. Sorry, neck girth by 5. So 1/5 of the neck girth is this measurement. Okay, you can take the measurement. Whatever is the measurement coming, you divide it by 5 and mark that measurement. Is this okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now for this length, let's also give this point some mark. I'm marking it A because it's a different point, means I am marking just this A. So from 6 to A, we will take whatever is the measurement of 6 to A. That is, whatever is the measurement, I will take half of it. Okay. So I will mark a point at the middle of 6 to A. Okay. And draw a line, a perpendicular line to that. So this is, I hope everybody is clear on this, that this is going to be my center front line. As this was my center back line, this is the center front line. So from the center front line, I'm going to draw a perpendicular line just on the front. Okay. So this is the middle of 6 to A and I'm going to draw a perpendicular line just on the front. Okay. So let's mark this point 7. This is going to be my bust level. Okay. This is where the bust will fall. Is this clear, everybody? This is an important point.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We will go 1 inch.
is okay. So from 7 we are going to go 1 inch above. 7 to 8 is 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters, and we are going to draw a line again perpendicular to the center front till the back. So from the front to the back, this is point number 9. This is going to be the armhole level. So this is my bust level and this is the armhole level. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
मैम ये ऊपर की साइड क्या पोर्शन है जहाँ 6 लिखा हुआ है?
Yeah. You just hold on for a bit because am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
somebody was asking something. Can you please repeat the question?
मैम जहाँ पे 6 लिखा हुआ है ये क्या पोर्शन है?
ये मेरा नेक पॉइंट है, फ्रंट का नेक पॉइंट होने वाला है ये, ठीक है। ये दोनों 4 और 5 हमारा HSP होने वाला है, हाई शोल्डर पॉइंट। यू रिमेम्बर हाई शोल्डर पॉइंट के बारे में हम बात किए थे,
यस मैम।
ठीक है। ये 4 और 5 हमारे बैक और फ्रंट का हाई शोल्डर पॉइंट होने वाला है। पॉइंट नंबर 6 इज गोइंग टू बी माय नेक पॉइंट। पॉइंट नंबर 7 इज गोइंग टू बी द बस्ट लेवल। पॉइंट नंबर 8 इज गोइंग टू बी द आर्म होल।
मैम इन दोनों के बीच में इतना गैप क्यों है? मतलब 6 to 8 के बीच में इतना गैप क्यों है?
मैडम ये नेक पॉइंट है, ये आर्म होल लेवल है। नेक पॉइंट कहाँ होता है? नेक पॉइंट एकदम नेक के बेस पे होगा। आर्म होल पॉइंट, आर्म होल लेवल कहाँ पे होगा? जहाँ पे हाथ खत्म हो रहा है, हाथ ज्वाइन हो रहा है आपके बॉडी के साथ, उसके नीचे। तो इन दोनों में तो डिफरेंस है ना। बॉडी के हिसाब से देखिए, आप अपने अपने बॉडी में जज करने की कोशिश कीजिए, है कि नहीं है। अच्छा, let me just draw a basic garment for you. Maybe that can help you understand. So this is what our garment, once we make it, will look like. Okay, is this diagram clear to everybody?
यस मैम।
This is going to be my neck point. This is where the neck point is, the base of the neck, and this is where the armhole level is. ये नीचे नहीं है, है ना।
ओके मैम।
तो 6 to 8 नीचे तो होना पड़ेगा, करेक्ट। Can I move to the next point?
यस
Yes,
मैम।
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay. So after this, we are going to identify. So we have also taken our across back measurements, across back and across front measurements. Yes.
यस मैम।
So for that, what we are going to do, we are going to measure 3 to 9, identify the midpoint date and add 1 centimeter to it. Okay. So let's say जो भी मेरा ये मेजरमेंट आ रहा है, ठीक है, उसका मिडिल लेंगे एंड 1 सेंटीमीटर वी विल गो डाउन, ठीक है। इज दिस क्लियर द पॉइंट? द मिडिल ऑफ 3 to 9 एंड गोज डाउन बाय 1 सेंटीमीटर। क्लियर?
Yes, ma'am.
यस। इस पे हम एक परपेंडिकुलर लाइन ड्रॉ करेंगे एंड दिस इज माय अक्रॉस बैक लेवल, ठीक है। इस पे हम मार्क करेंगे हमारा जो भी अक्रॉस बैक मेजरमेंट आ रहा है उसका हाफ। Okay, because we are making half pattern, we are making half back, right? तो हम उसका half measure करेंगे। So whatever is the measurement coming, we will mark half on it, half of across back in it. Just let us name it 11. So your 10 to 11 is half of across back. Okay. Yes. Now we are going to mark our shoulder level. How to mark the shoulder level? We will measure 3 to 10 and divide it into 3 parts. So 1/3 of your 3 to 10, 10, 11. So sorry, 1/3 of your 3 to 10 is 3 to 11. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, इस पे हम again we are going to make a perpendicular line. Okay. Now this is where my shoulder will fall. Now how to mark the shoulder? We have the shoulder length measurement. ये measurement हमने लिया है already. This is the shoulder length. We will mark this measurement, but with this we are going to add 1.4 centimeter for a small dart to be placed on the shoulder. So let's say अगर आपका measurement आ रहा है 5 inches, for example, you add another 1.4 centimeter to it and you have to mark the shoulder here. Clear हुआ ये? क्या करना है?
No, ma'am. Can you
Yes,
please
ma'am.
again?
So let's say my shoulder measurement in the body, the human body, let's say the human body is like this. You measure the shoulder and it is coming to be 5 inches. ठीक है? If it is coming to be 5 inches, you add 1.4 centimeter to it and that gives you the final shoulder measurement here. This 1.4 centimeter will be converted into a dart.
Okay.
Is this clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how to mark it? We will take the scale like that and this is the length that I'm looking for. So let's say the shoulder comes to be around 10 centimeters. Let's say just assuming around 10 to 11 centimeters it is coming and we are adding 1.4 centimeters. So 11 centimeter plus 1.4 centimeter is 12 centimeters, 12.4 centimeter, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
are going to mark 12.4 centimeter starting from here wherever it intersects this line. Is this clear to everybody? Did I make myself clear here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So this becomes my shoulder measurement. Now I will take the center of this length wherever the center comes. I will mark the center. Okay. And I will divide this 1.4 centimeter on both the side of the center. This is the center line. And on both the sides of the center line, I'm going to mark. So half of 1.4 is 0.7 centimeters. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So in one side I'm going to mark 1.7, in another side I'm going to mark 0.7 centimeter. So that this total thing becomes 1.4. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes. Next I'm going to make a line. Now this line would be perpendicular to our shoulder like this. The length of this line is 8 centimeter and I'm going to join the end points and complete the dart. Is this clear?
Ma'am, how have you taken the measurement to be 8 centimeter?
So
Or is
from the from this point, the center point, we had marked the center point, right, on the shoulder.
that I got, ma'am?
Yes.
Matlab, if I
From there, I have drawn a perpendicular line.
right,
Okay,
right.
and on the line, I am taking 8 centimeter. The length of that line is 8 centimeter.
Okay. How is
Is this clear?
how it is proportionate to that?
How it is proportionate to that? As in, what is your question?
How is it proportionate to that 1.4 centimeter that you have drawn? Why have
It,
you
it,
taken?
it is not proportionate to 1.4 centimeter. It gives you a good line to, it 8 centimeter is a very good. So if you look at the human body, let me just give you the context of it. So the human body is a little slopey at the back. It doesn't have the bust like this, but it is a little slopey at the back.
Right,
Yes.
right.
So this 8 centimeter slope will give you the extra dart to convert that extra, the to incorporate that slope.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
It is a standard measurement. You can work with 8 centimeter for all sizes. Okay, so if you go through your workbook, you will see there are certain measurements. I am following most of your workbook things. There are multiple techniques of making bodies. This is not the only technique. However, I am giving you the context of what if. So for in your workbook, the technique that is given is specifically for size 12. What we are doing here is going to work for any size. So for example, in your workbook you might see कि ये measurement दिया हुआ है या ये measurement कुछ कुछ exact measurement दिया हुआ है. But for this I said कि 7, take 7 as the midpoint of this, right? Or take this 1 inch above. This is going to work for all sizes. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. ठीक है. So यहाँ तक हो गया हमारा. यहाँ तक clear है सबको?
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है. Now let's
Yes,
come to the front. Front के लिए हम क्या करने वाले हैं? We are going to find the across front level. We have done the across back level and let's now take the across front level. For the across front level, we are going to measure 6 to 8. Take the midpoint of 6 to 8. Okay. And from that, we are going to go down by 2 centimeters. ठीक है, इसके लिए we have gone up by 1 centimeter. For this we are going down by 2 centimeters. Okay, and we are marking the point. We have done till, okay, let's look. I have not marked these things. So this is the lower shoulder point. I have marked it well here now. The midpoint to be 13 and this to be 14. So this becomes 15. Okay.
Yes.
I'm again going to mark a perpendicular line. Okay. Now on this perpendicular line, I am going to mark my across front divided by 2. So 15 to 16 will be your half of across front. Again, like back, for front also we are making half the pattern, hence it will be half. Okay. Now, just marking half is not going to be enough. Why? Because now see, this was a small dart. Did not go till the across back level, but this is a big dart. This is going to be this big, this dart. And it is going to cross the across front level. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So for this, our 15 to 16 जो length है, this will be your half across front plus 2.2 centimeters. This 2.2 centimeter will be the dart intake at this level. Is this clear?
yes, ma'am.
Is this okay? Now we are going to take the neck by 5, this neck point, mark it across in a perpendicular way. Okay, and we are going to mark whatever is 15 to 16 and add another. So whatever is this 17. So your 6 to 17 is essentially whatever was the measurement at 15 to 16 plus another 4.4 centimeter. Okay, this will be the intake here. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. From this point, I am going to go up by just 3 mm. Okay, and get a point. Let this point be 18, and we will join 5 to 18. Okay. Is this clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now understand something. The back shoulder will be joined to the front shoulder. So the length should be equal for both front and back shoulders. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So हम क्या करने वाले हैं? ये डार्ट के जो ये मेजरमेंट्स है, so 12 to the this dart leg, यहाँ से यहाँ तक का जो मेजरमेंट है, we are going to place it exactly here from 18 to that point. So let this point be 19. Is this okay? Whatever was the measurement, not to the center, but to the 1.4 का dart intake वाला point. Okay? We are going to take this measurement and place it exactly here. Okay? We are going to do the same for this side. From 4 to this point, we are going to measure and mark from 5 to that point. Yes, is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this gives, so let it be 19, 20. See, 19 to 20 gives your dart intake of the shoulder. यहाँ पे जो हमारा ये dart form करने वाला है ना, this is the 19 to 20 dart intake. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now at the bust level, we have to identify another mark. Now what is this mark? So our dart is like this. This is where the bust level is. So there are these 2 points where which we call as apex. Apex is the highest point of the bust. Okay. So that is what you have to measure. So how we measure this? We generally measure from point to point. So we measure the distance between this from the body, and from 7, point number 7, we mark half of it. Whatever is the distance, we measure half of the distance between apex points. ये समझ में आया सबको? Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's mark this 21 and now complete the dart. How to complete the dart? From 20 to 21, from 19 to 21, and we are done. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now for the side also we need a little shape. You can see even in the body it is going a little inside. So from the side we need a little shape. So ये जो हमारा center line था, the one which was dividing the front and the back onto 2 parts. From here we are going to go inside by 3.5 centimeter in the front and 3.5 centimeter in the back, both sides. Okay. So let's mark this 22 and 23. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And we are going to join this with the armhole points. So this is going to be my armhole point. This is the armhole level. So this is the armhole point. We are going to join this straight. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now when you measure this, you will see you also have a waist girth. जब हमने measurements हमने लिखे थे, उसमें we also added waist girth, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you measure this, you will see this is bigger than your waist girth. So let's say the waist girth is coming to be, whatever measurement. Let's say the waist girth is coming to be 25 inches or 26 inches for that matter. Okay? But this might come more. So this should be ideally, अगर waist पे fitted होना है, this should be 1/4 of our waist girth because this is 1/4 of the pattern. Yes, no,
Yes, ma'am.
some confusion. This
No,
should be 1/4.
yes, ma'am.
अगर ये 1/4 नहीं है, so there would be some difference. It
Yes.
will be definitely bigger than 1/4 of the waist girth. So what we are going to do, whatever is the difference, we are going to make a dart here for that. Okay? So
Yes.
whatever is the distance, let's say the difference is coming to be 4 centimeters. We are going to mark 2 centimeter here, 2 centimeter here. Go down from the bust by 1 inch and bust point from the apex point 1 inch and complete this dart. Is this clear to everybody? Did I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. The same will happen in the back
Yes,
because
ma'am.
again it is 1/4 and we have gone exactly 3.5 centimeter in both and front and back. So उतना ही dart intake हमें यहाँ पे भी चाहिए. So what we are going to do, we are simply going to follow the rule of जो भी हमने यहाँ पे लिया है. So 7 to 21 जितना भी आया है, 9 to we are going to mark another point. Let's say 24. 9 to 24 would be equal to 7 to 21, and we are going to drop this perpendicularly. Mark 2 centimeters, let's say, on both the sides. Whatever is the difference, please do not go by the thumb rule of 2 centimeters. Go by the thumb rule that whatever is this measurement and 1/4 of your waist girth, difference between 1/4 of your waist girth and this measurement, whatever is the difference, we are marking it as a dart equally divided on both the sides of the center balance line. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now we are going to complete. So because it's a smaller pattern, my French curve will not exactly fit, but you're going to place it like this and you will see it is fitting perfectly and it will come like, so we are going to join point number 18, 16 and the armhole point for the front, 12, 11 and the armhole point for the back. So this is how the front and back will come. For the neck, you have to place it like this from 5 to 6. For back neck, you're going to place it like this for 3 to 4 and voila, your bodice is done. Yay. Is there any confusion? Do you want me to repeat?
No, ma'am.
Is this clear? Okay, so from here, okay, so we can additionally do one more thing here. We can go down from point number A, we can go down 3 centimeters and we can join the point number 1 to this point like this. So I'm going to mark this B. Now this is not required in smaller sizes. If you're making it for let's say size 6 or size 4, for that matter even size 8, you would not need this. And I'm going to draw this till this 1 to B line. Why is this required? This is required because the body is requires more fabric in the front, right? Because the bust is growing. So you need more fabric in the front. So let's say size 10 onwards, it is a good idea to give a little extra in the front so that it can accommodate that extra bust ka measurement. However, if you are making for really small sizes, this is not required. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you're making for somebody who generally wear extra small sizes, this is not required. But if you're making for somebody who wears XL, you should definitely use it. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Should we move on to sleeves?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So from this, I said from bodice we need a measurement for sleeve. What is that measurement? The measurement we need from bodice is this. The armhole from 12 to the armhole point to 18. This measurement you need. This measurement is called the arm sky. Okay, or armhole measurement. You can call it armhole length also, or it is more technically called arm sky. ARMSCYE, arm sky. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes.
can you please slide little bit? I want to take picture.
I did not get you. Can you please repeat?
मैम इसको थोड़ा सा सीधा कर देंगे, मैं फोटो लेनी है.
ले लीजिए.
हो गया.
Done? Are you done?
Yes ma'am, yes ma'am.
Okay. So let's start with the sleeve now. So sleeve के लिए हम क्या करने वाले हैं? The first measure, what are the measurements I have said? For sleeve, you need the sleeve length, the bicep girth, the wrist girth, and now you also have the arm sky, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's start. So the first measurement, we are going to make a straight line. Let me like this. Okay. So this is the straight line that we are taking. The straight line, the length of the straight line is the sleeve length. Okay. This is simply whatever is the length of the sleeve you want. This is the sleeve length. Now you have the arm sky. Now, when we talk about sleeves, there is one terminology which is very important. It is called the cap height, the cap height of the sleeve. Okay. Now, what is the cap height? Now, you must have seen कि sleeves can be जैसे आपके कुर्ती वगैरह के sleeves होते हैं, ऐसे होते हैं, very close to the body, right?
Yes, ma'am.
और for example साड़ी के blouses जो sleeve होते हैं एकदम close to the body. Next we have short sleeves, right? Which falls a little like this, right?
Yes,
A
ma'am.
little away from the body. And finally we have t-shirt sleeves, which are like this, which essentially are like a T. The garment is like a T, hence we call it a t-shirt, right? In each case, the sleeve is moving away from the body, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if I want to draw a perpendicular line from this part of the sleeve, this is where the bicep will fall, this new lines that I have drawn. Yes, no,
Yes, ma'am.
है ना? इसके केस में देखिए ये लेंथ ज्यादा है, जितना क्लोज है बॉडी से, the higher is the cap height. As it is going away from the body, this length is becoming smaller. This length is called the cap height. Okay, so which essentially means that the closer it is to the body, the more should be the cap height. The further away it is from the body, the lesser would be the cap height. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so with this concept, this is the sleeve that we are going to make today, and this is the basic sleeve that we have, and this has the highest cap height. However, let me give you a brief about how the cap height is related to this arm sky. For a basic sleeve that we are going to make, this cap height is arm sky divided by 3. Okay, for this one, if you are going to make a short sleeve, it is going to be arm sky divided by 4. If you want to make a t-shirt, it is going to be arm sky divided by 6. This relation is clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes.
But for now, today's class, we are going to, because we are going making the basic sleeve, our arm sky divided by 3 is going to generate my cap height. Okay? So whatever you have measured from your bodies here, ये जो हमने measure किया, इसको हम divide करेंगे by 3, and from the top of the sleeve, let us make a small perpendicular line here that is also going to help us make the sleeve. So this from top of the sleeve, I'm going to mark my cap height wherever it comes, and I'm going to make a perpendicular line here. Okay, do not worry about the length of the line right now, just make a perpendicular line. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
now there are two things that we have measured. Understand, a sleeve pattern, you must have seen a sleeve pattern. A sleeve pattern looks like this, correct? ऐसा दिखता है कुछ sleeve pattern,
Yes,
है ना?
ma'am.
And our body का armhole looks something like this, correct? Now ideally this has to get fitted here,
Yes, ma'am.
है ना? So फिर what we are going to do is that we are going to take the arm sky, divide it into 2 parts. So one part we are going to mark like this, जैसे हमने shoulder mark किया, whatever is the measurement, we are going to mark one part here, half of arm sky from here to here, and same half of arm sky here to here. Okay, is this clear, this measurements? I have not
Yes.
made the lines. Please remember, I have not made the lines. I have just made the
Points.
mark the points. ठीक है? Now I am going to take my bicep girth. ठीक है? जो हमारा ये bicep girth आया था, I am going to take the bicep girth, and we are trying to see whether it is matching or not. ठीक है? यहाँ से यहाँ तक ये match हो रहा है कि नहीं है. There is a very high chance that the bicep girth will be smaller than whatever this measurement is coming. Okay.
Yes.
So what we are going to do is, let's say यहाँ से यहाँ तक ये measurement आया, यहाँ से यहाँ तक ये measurement मेरा arm sky by 2 का measurement आ रहा था, but bicep girth मैं जब करने जा रही हूँ तो ये थोड़ा सा कम आ रहा है, यहाँ से यहाँ तक आ रहा है. I'm going to take the midway of 2. Because this is on bias, थोड़ा सा stretch होके इस पे बैठ जाएगा, and because this is exactly the bicep measurement, this was exactly the bicep measurement, this will allow a little ease. Is this clear? Do I repeat or is this clear? Can anybody confirm, please?
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
It's clear? Okay. Now let's join these 2 points from the top of the sleeve till the cap height level पे the points for the bicep that we have identified. Okay. Now I'm going to divide this into four parts, four equal parts. This length we are going to divide into four equal parts. Okay. Now there can be standard measurements. However, let's not overburden you with information. What we are going to do is that simply for this two center points, we are going to go out by 3 by 8 of an inch or 1 centimeter. Either way, it's equal. 3 by 8 or 1 centimeter. We are going to go out. Okay. The rest you can work with. Now you are going to take your French curve, place it once like this. हमें ये सारे पॉइंट्स को ज्वाइन करना है, ठीक है, दिस पॉइंट एंड दिस पॉइंट, दिस पॉइंट, दिस पॉइंट एंड दिस पॉइंट. हाउएवर ये ऊपर वाले पॉइंट्स थोड़े बाहर जाने हैं, नीचे वाले पॉइंट्स थोड़े अंदर आने हैं. यू कैन जस्ट टेक दिस एज गाइडलाइंस एंड वी आर गोइंग टू मेक द कर्व लाइक this. So we are going to place the French curve once like this and second time like this. So once the French curve is placed like this, the second time the French curve is placed like this. Same for this side. Once the French curve is placed like this and second time the French curve is placed like this. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we have the length of the sleeve. We mark another perpendicular line here. We have the wrist measurement. However, the wrist measurement, do not take it exactly as a wrist measurement. अगर इतना आ रहा है बस इतना ही मत मार्क कीजिए because your hand has to go through it. So we need to add some ease to it. You should have a good idea is whatever is your wrist measurement, add 2 inches to it. ठीक है? And you divide it into two parts. So equally इस line के half, दोनों साइड में half half रहेगा. So this entire length is going to be your wrist girth plus 2 inches. Okay, and
Yes,
we are going to add this, join this with straight lines. Okay,
yes, ma'am.
so this completes our basic sleeve. Is this clear? You want to take a photo, you can take a photo. You want to ask any question, you can ask the questions, and then we move to the skirt.
It's clear, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, now let's start doing the skirt. For the skirt, what are the measurements that we have spoken about? We have spoken about the waist girth, the hip girth, and the length, right? Again, for the skirt, we are going to start by making a rectangle. The height of the rectangle is equal to the length of the skirt. Okay, whatever is the length of the skirt, the height of the rectangle is that. So this is the skirt length. The width of the rectangle would be your hip girth plus ease. Hip girth by 2 plus ease. So again, exactly like we did for bodice, this is hip girth divided by 2 plus 1 inch. Okay. There is less possibility like this. Okay. And we are going to complete the rectangle. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, we are going to divide the rectangle into two parts because we are going to make the front and back. Yes, it is half of it. Okay. Now you remember I said from the waist the hip is around 20 to 21 centimeters down. So you're going to, so this is going to be my waist level. Okay. give you a perspective. Let us do those markings like we did. Huh? So 0 to 1 is your skirt length, 0 to 2 is your waist girth by 2 plus 1 inch. Okay. Let's also mark not required and yes. So from 2 we are going to mark our hip level. Okay. So how do we mark the hip level? Our hip level would be around 20 to 21 centimeters, or you can also see wherever you're taking the hip girth, you can measure that from the waist level. Okay, for a little off sizes which are way too plus or way too slim, you might have to measure. Otherwise, 20 to 21 centimeter gives a good measurement of your waist level. Sorry, hip level. So this is my hip level. Okay, clear till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let me just go back to my bodice a little. ठीक है, यहाँ से देखो, ideally a skirt and a bodice is going to be fitted like this, is it not?
Yes, ma'am.
So there are few things which is happening at the bottom of the bodice has to be replicated in the skirt,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So क्या क्या चीजें हैं देखो, पहला तो ये साइड सीम से हम कितना अंदर जा रहे हैं, how much we are going inside in the side seam will give a very nice shape. So
Yes.
we went by 3.5 centimeters. Here also we are going to go inside by 3.5 centimeters. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So again, we are getting 2 points which are 3.5 centimeters away in both the sides. So let's mark this 5 and 6. Now, how to calculate the dart? The dart would be something which is, again, we can do the exact thing that we did for our bodice. We measure how much is. So for example, for front, how much is 2 to 5? We can measure the measurement here. It will be definitely more than 1/4 of waist. Whatever is the difference is the dart intake. Is this clear?
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
I repeat? Yes. So
Yes.
if that is the case, where should this dart fall? यहाँ पे we knew that it is falling on the bust point, on the apex point. Here what we are going to do, we are simply going to take the measurement from A to the first dart leg. ये कितना है हमें बस we need to identify this and we are going to mark a point exactly that far away for the skirt. So your 2 to 7 would be A to this point. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, whatever was the dart intake that we calculated, we mark that dart intake, take the center of it and drop a line. So we mark the center of the 7 to 8 and drop a line perpendicular to the hip level. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The length of this dart is 3.5 inch. 3.5 inch. So wherever 3.5 inch comes, we mark it and we complete this dart.
Length of it.
Okay. We are going to do exactly the same for the back. So whatever was 2 to 7, we are going to mark here. Let's 0 to 9 is equal to 2 to 7. The dart intake again will be equal. So your 7 to 8 and 9 to 10 would be equal. But the dart length would be more. So again from the center we are dropping a line. And here we are going to take 5.5 inch and complete the dart. Now please understand why we are taking two different lengths for front and back. Let me just give you an context. Let's say I draw so if this is the front and this is the back of the body. In the front there is a tummy which is coming up, which is a little up. At the back there is the hip, which is a little down. Hence the dart length needs to be bigger at the back and smaller at the front. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So this, after once you have done this, you also from this point at the side seam point, let's mark it something. Let's mark it 11. From here, we go up by 5 centimeters. Point number 12. So again, we take the French curve or the hip curve if you have hip curve, or else this you can work with French curve also. You're going to take the curve and make a line and cross point number 5 by 1/4 of an inch. Take point number 5, get it up by 1/4 of an inch. Same for back. You will take the point, cross point number 6 by 1/4 of an inch. Okay? And from that point, you are going to blend. So you take the French curve like this and blend it. Again, take the French curve like this and blend it. Yes? Is this clear to everybody?
And why did you do that?
Okay, I'll tell you why did you. But is the process clear? I will explain the reason.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we did this because if you ever have laid a skirt flat, you must realize that the skirt falls like this.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So at the center it is a little down, at the side it is a little up. So give that shape that it is a little up on the side. We have done this.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So this completes the skirt. This is a basic of how the skirt is drawn. However, you can actually take this darts and divide it into multiple darts. Now, why would you like to do it? It is because the more number of darts you have, the better it will fit. Just imagine the body as the cross section of the body. It is like a oval thing, the cross section of the body.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, if I have a single dart, it will fall like this. However, if I have two darts, it will fall like this and then this. The more number of the darts, the more fitted it is to the body. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, in case, let's say you want to have two darts, what you are going to do is simply keep this dart as, so I'm using another colored pen if you can see that. So from point number 7 we will have the first dart and we will just have half of it. So जो half था we will take as half of this as a first dart. Give a gap of 1 inch, go away and make another dart which is another half of it. Is this clear how to make it, or do
Yes.
you want me to make another diagram?
Yes, ma'am.
It's clear?
मैम
हाँ.
मैम ये जो 2.5 और 3.5 है ये सेंटीमीटर में लिया है कि इंच
सेंटीमीटर
में लिया है?
सेंटीमीटर्स.
ओके मैम.
ठीक है. ये बॉडिस में भी हमने सेंटीमीटर पे लिया था, यहाँ पे भी हमने सेंटीमीटर पे लिया.
ओके मैम.
Okay. Now we can do the same here also. ठीक है. We mark half of it, give a gap of 1 inch and make another dot. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So this completes the bodice sleeve and the skirt drafting. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me just connect back with the the laptop device and I'll tell you the things that you have to do for your as the part of the assignment here. Let me just connect that.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Mute here. Can you hear me, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, let me just share your practical workbook. Uh, just give me 1 moment. Okay, so can you see the screen?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Okay, so this is your practical workbook. Now, there are few things which you would need to do. First is making this measurement chart. So you will, I'm pretty sure you will have friends there. You can ask one of your friend, and you need to complete this measurement chart. The first exercise number 1, it is in page number 106. Okay, so there is a measurement chart which you have to make. So there is bust, circumference, waist. Preferably please take a girlfriend who is because otherwise in boys the bust and the waist is not very prominently different. So it is better that you use a girl for this measurement. A woman, your mother or somebody else will also do. So take this measurements. So you have your bust, waist, hip, neck girth. Let's go through this, each one of this. If you have any problem in any of the measurements which you think that we have not spoken about, please ask me. Bust we did, waist, hip, neck girth. Then we go to the horizontal measurements, wherein we have across back at the center of the armhole at the back, across chest, center of the armhole in the front, the shoulder length, which is from HSP to the lower shoulder point, the across shoulder from point to point, the bust span at the bust level from one side seam to the other side seam in the front. Then you have the front length. What is the front length? From HSP, if you measure the waist level, that is the front length. Center front length, from the neck point, if you measure the waist, the length is the center front length. The center back is where you are measuring from the center back to the waist. Next, you have the highest shoulder point. Okay, to highest shoulder point to the bust. So from here to the bust level, if you're measuring, that is the highest shoulder point to the bust. Armhole depth. Armhole depth we measure generally from your from the nape till wherever the armhole is falling. So that is the armhole depth. Then next we have the sleeve length. Sleeve length we measure like this. The underarm length, again it is something which we measure. We can measure either from the bottom, from waist to armhole. Then we have the armhole girth. Armhole girth from the body you will measure like this around the armhole. The bicep circumference here at the straight, you keep the arm straight and you measure the bicep circumference. The elbow girth here, the wrist here, and the hand girth with the fist closed, you measure the hand girth. For the skirt, you're going to measure the high hip level where the curve of the hip is starting, wherever the curvy part is starting. Hence, you would rather use it on a woman, because in men it is pretty much straight waist down. Waist to hip level, wherever the measurement, the hip girth is, you're taking the hip girth wherever the measurement is highest. That is where you're going to measure it. Waist to knee and waist to ankle. For the trouser, you're going to measure the body rise or the crotch. How you're going to measure it? From the waist till wherever the length, the legs are joining. You can ask the person to wear some sort of, pants or leggings wherein you can measure it. The inside length, again, the joining of the legs till the ankle. Outside, again, from the side seam, waist side seam to the bottom. Round knee, the knee girth, and the ankle girth. Is this all measurements clear to everybody? Can you do this assignment?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
This is the same thing you can do with two people, but I am asking you to do with just one person. Now, this part of the workbook will give you an idea of if you want to make a kurta. I'm not asking you to do this now, but in future, if you want to make a kurta, you can use this as the measurement guide. uh, this is what we have right now. We spoke about it, drafting of the basic sleeve skirt. In this section they have already given you the measurement of a size 12 woman. However, you can take this as a guideline of measurement and make the pattern, or you can also make the pattern for the person you have measured. Either way, whichever way is comfortable to you, you can do that. If you want, you are however starting with the measurement chart. So if you want to make pattern for that person, you can do that, or you can use these measurements that is given here, and you can work with it. Okay, so this essentially is that part of the section. Is this clear? This part, is this clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let me come to the sewing part, or the uh, seam type parts that we have spoken about yesterday. Just a moment. Okay, can you see this screen? Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
No, ma'am.
you can't see the screen. Anybody else who can't see the screen, please check your connection possibly. If one can see, I'm pretty sure everybody should be able to see it. Everybody can see it? Can you see it now? Whoever was not
Yes,
being able
ma'am.
to see? Okay. Now, as we were talking about seams yesterday, now something that yesterday somebody asked me, कि we have a single domestic machine which doesn't have a lot of kinds of stitches. So how do we do different seams? Now, first you really need to understand the difference between a seam and a stitch. A seam is when you use two pieces of fabric and you join them together. That is called a seam. Okay. When you take two pieces of fabric, join it in any format, that is called a seam. Okay. So in the side we have seam, on the shoulder we have seam. However, if we stitch, we are just simply stitching, you know, that is, a stitch can be on this used on a seam also, or it can be a decorative stitch also. For example, what I am wearing today, this, can you see, these are chain stitches, right? This is not a seam, it is a solid fabric on which some stitching is done, right? So these are normal chain stitch which is being done. So there can be different stitch types. The machine that most of you might be having, the domestic machine or the industrial machine also, yesterday the one we were, the stitch formation we spoke about, is essentially called a lock stitch machine. The number, there are different stitch numbers as you would progress. If you want to stay in this industry and you would progress, you will see there are different stitch numbers. The stitch number that we work with, the domestic machines work with, is called 301, 301, and that is basically a lock stitch. Why is it called a lock stitch? One thread goes from up, one thread goes from bottom, and it locks like this, and hence it is called a lock stitch. These lock stitch machines can be used to fold the fabrics in different formats, two layers in different formats, and make seams. Is this clear, everybody? Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's assume this are, I'm just dividing this paper into two parts. I am using a rudimentary tearing apart technique so that we can assume that this is the raw edge of the fabric. The part we have, I just torn it out, is the raw edge of the fabric. Okay. And now see, there in one side I have marked uh, in one side I have marked ticks, rights, and another side I have marked crosses. Yes. Can you see this? Can you see the screen as well? And the
Yes, ma'am.
video as well? So what does this mean? It means that the right, the ones where I have marked the ticks, is the right side of the fabric. The where I have marked the crosses is the wrong side of the fabric. Okay. Now let us look at each of the seams one by one. First is a plain seam. We have spoken about plain seam yesterday. The basic seam that is there is a plain seam, which most of you are aware about. What do we do in case of plain seam? We take the right sides of both the fabrics, join it face to face, so that the wrong sides are outside, and we stitch it. If we stitch it here, it will give me a plain seam. Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
यहाँ पे देखिए यही बताया गया है. So pin the right sides together. From the edge 1 centimeter away, you are stitching, and this line is the stitch. You see the blue line, it is the stitch. You make sure that you are doing a back stitch here, and throughout you are making a stitch, and this completes my plain seam. A plain seam can also have a top stitch. Okay, how to do that? This is the second one. It's a top stitch plain seam. What we are going to do is we are going to make the plain seam, open it up. Once you have made the plain seam, you can open it up. Just so you have, let's say you have stitched it here and you open it up, and once you have opened it up, you turn the plain seam on the right side of the fabric. You turn the seam on the right side of the fabric and you stitch here. At the side, you stitch here like this. On the right side of the fabric, you're turning it around and stitching. And on the top, you will get another stitch. Here on the right side, you'll get another line of stitch. This is the top stitched plain seam. Is this one clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
using the same machine and doing it. Yes? Somebody was asking something? Is somebody asking something? No? Okay. If you do not have a machine, you can hand stitch it also. It's all the same. You can just, place wrong to wrong, wrong side to wrong side, and you can mark it. Next, we can have the front seam. Now look at how a front seam looks. Now, till now, can you see this part of the screen where the front seam is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. So for the front seam, in the plain seam, we had placed the right sides facing each other. But now for the front seam, we are going to take the wrong sides and we are going to join it. Now in this case, what will happen when we are stitching for the first time? हमारे right sides बाहर है. Okay, we have the wrong sides joined together. We stitch at the edge first. ठीक है, edge में हम 0.5 centimeter from this edge you are stitching first. Okay, is this clear? The first part.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you turn it around. ठीक है, you stitch it, press it on one side, and you turn it around. Now when you turn it around, the wrong sides are outside now. You can see I will stitch this like this. I have already stitched like this first, turning it around, and now the wrong sides are outside. Okay. Now we stitch again. We stitch on the wrong side. Here we stitch it. When you are stitching it, make sure now this stitch is, so this is the allowance that is there. थोड़ा allowance चाहे आपको trim करना पड़ सकता है. And then you are stitching away from the seam. इससे दूर करेंगे हम. You can see the diagram. The first stitch was this small stitch.
Yes, ma'am.
You're turn it around, and this now the second stitch that you're doing is away from the seam allowance, right?
Yes,
It is away from the seam allowance. Yes.
Ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
So now if I open it up, I will have a very nice clean seam. ठीक है, जिसमें हमें कुछ नहीं दिखेगा. This works very well with your chiffon and georgette fabrics, the fabrics which are sheer, and it's a very strong seam. Okay, used a lot in dresses and skirts, at times in other formal garments.
Blouses में भी अधिकतर हम यही करते हैं.
जी
मैम ब्लाउज बनाते हैं तो उसमें अधिकतर यही करते हैं।
हाँ, ब्लाउज बनाते हैं तो उसमें भी ये करते हैं, करेक्ट। फ्रेंच सीम का एक और वेरिएशन होता है जिसको हम मॉक फ्रेंच बोलते हैं, ठीक है। मॉक फ्रेंच में हम क्या करते हैं, मॉक फ्रेंच में हम प्लेन सीम बनाते हैं पहले, like this we make the plain seam and then we fold the edges inside and then we stitch again, ठीक है। doesn't give as clean a look as French seam but does the work, ठीक है। if you are not very confident कि कौन सा राइट साइड है कौन सा रॉन्ग साइड है, पहला एक प्लेन स्टिच बना दीजिए, turn it around and then do another stitch that gives you a mock French. It is essentially a fake French seam. mock का मतलब ही वही हुआ ना, it's a fake French seam, ठीक है। next what we have, it's a welt seam. welt seam क्या हो गया, it is often used in our welt pockets and all those things, ठीक है। so इसमें हम क्या कर रहे हैं, again we are taking the papers and we are stitching a plain seam, but the plain seam that we are stitching is like this. We are not matching the edge to edge, we are stitching a little one edge a little away, ठीक है। ऐसे करके एक स्टिच कर रहे हैं, we are turning it around and then we are doing the second stitch, ठीक है। hence what we have is a welt seam. Is
Yes,
this
ma'am.
clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Next is the flattened felt seam. Very common seam in seams of your denim, the side seams of your shirt. इसमें again हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हम wrong side लेते हैं, wrong side to wrong side, and either you trim one side, you do the plain seam and trim one side, or you again like welt seam, आप एक साइड को छोटा रख के स्टिच कीजिए ऐसे, राइट, एक साइड को दूर रख के स्टिच कीजिए like this. next you're going to turn it around, turn this one around upon this, turn this one around, press it very nicely, press it and then do the stitching. This will give you the flattened felt seam. Is this one clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
एंड फाइनली वी हैव अ पाइप सीम. इसमें हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हम पाइपिंग बना रहे हैं, ठीक है। दो लेयर है, वी हैव टू लेयर्स ऑफ फैब्रिक. along with that we are again facing, जैसे हम प्लेन सीम बनाते हैं राइट साइड टू राइट साइड मैच करा के, रॉन्ग साइड आउटसाइड, इसके साथ वी आर adding another layer of fabric. So if you can see in this image, ऊपर एक पीस है, नीचे एक पीस है, and then another fabric is turned like this, okay, and we stitch it. This will create a piping in the seam. जब it will open up on the right side, you will have a small piping. You can also insert a cord here that will give you a corded piping.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, whatever seams you are making, let me just repeat it over and over again, that your seams should be something which is always and always, pressed repeatedly, back tacked on both the edges, and then the seam is made, otherwise the seam will rip off. uh, these photos are not in your study material. Do you want to take photos once?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So let me just go each one of this zoom one by one and take the photo and let me know.
हो गया मैम.
हो गया, ये हो गया.
Yes, ma'am.
And the third. Now something which is important to understand here. See, the seam allowance for each of the seams are different, right? आपको प्लेन सीम अगर ये बनाना है, बस just one seam to be done. Let's say I'm working with leather and just one seam to be done. Do you really think that you need a lot of seam allowance or as much of seam allowance like this one? Do you need it? No, right?
No, ma'am.
Yes. So depending on what seam you are making, your seam allowances will change, right? So this one will have maximum seam allowance, this minimum seam allowance, this will need a little more. A French seam will of course have much more seam allowance than that of a plain seam. A welt and a flattened felt seam, both these cases, The seam allowances are taken from, so if this is the seam, please understand this is the center of your garment. ठीक है, sorry, this is the center of the garment. If this is the center of the garment, then in that case the seam allowance for this is from here, please follow my pointer, from here to here for one, and from here to here for the second layer. For both the layers the seam allowances are different. So if I am taking, as this stitch to this stitch, if it is 1 centimeter, then possibly yahan se yahan is half a centimeter, here to here is a little more than maybe 7 centimeters, so a total of 1.2 centimeters. This one will be again, let's say 7 centimeter, 0.7 centimeter. Is this clear? The seam allowance in both the cases?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
A flatten fell seam, again, in this you do not need different seam allowances, but again the seam allowance has to be started because this is the part of the body. Upar wala dekho, this is the part of the main side of the body. The seam allowance is from here till here. So again in dono ke beech mein, if the different distance is 1 centimeter, then possibly half a centimeter here and 0.7 to 8 centimeters. So 1.2 to 1.3 centimeter on this side, 1.2 to 1.3 centimeter on the other side, right?
Yes.
Depending on what
Yes,
seam
ma'am.
you're using, your allowances are changing. Here, this works like a plain seam, except there is a piping. So whatever is the piping you're using, again, the fabric of the piping makes a very important part. So depending on what piping you're using, the seam allowance of this will change. But whatever seam allowance you're using for the shell, make sure it's the exactly same seam allowance you're using for the piping. Okay? As an assignment, I want you to do this the first five, not the piped seam, but the first five. I asked you to source 10 swatches, five, for 5 seams, 10 by 10 swatches. So the first one you'll do is a plain seam. Next, you'll do a top stitch seam, a French seam, a welt seam, and a flatten fell seam. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So what you're going to do is you're going to take this, make the seams, take clean photographs of each of the seams and email it to me. Apart from that, on the class that we have in the next week, next Sunday, the class you have to switch on your video and show me the seams and the patterns that you have made. The things that you are going to send me is the measurement chart, the patterns, the photos of the patterns, and the photos of the seams. But in the video you are going to show me each of these assignments except the measurement chart. The measurement chart, sending me the measurement chart will work, but the pattern and the seams you have to show me. And because please understand, your evaluation is based on if you show me it in the class, otherwise I'll not be able to evaluate you. Is that okay?
Ma'am, we have to do these three things only, right? We do
You
not
have
have
to
to make
make
the practical workbook.
No, not the complete practical workbook. That is, of course, for your reference. You can do it later in your leisure time. As a part of the assignment, you're making the measurement chart first. You're making 3 patterns, 3 blocks, and you're making 5 seams.
Right.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any questions, any part that you did not understand?
Ma'am, the patterns, we have to make them on the cloth or any
Pattern
other type
sheets
of paper.
in pattern papers. I asked you to source
But
pattern papers, right?
uh, I really don't remember. Can you please tell me again which type of pattern paper should we use? What should be the size of it?
Pattern papers come in standard sizes. You can source it from any of those sewing supply shops. It There are two sorts of pattern sheets. One which are white pattern sheets, a little thicker in GSM. It is a little thicker, a little more stiffer, and then there are brown pattern sheets which are a little thinner. You can use any one of it. It comes in standard sizes. You know it's not that they'll cut it and it comes in different sizes. The white pattern sheets, however, are a little smaller. The brown pattern sheets are a little bigger, so you can use either one of that. But the photos that you are sending me, make sure it is visible, because you'll be making in pencil. Brown mein pencil, there is a chance that it's not very nicely visible. So make sure whatever you are sending me, it is visible. Okay.
Okay.
मैम मेजरमेंट चार्ट कैसे बनाना है?
मेजरमेंट चार्ट कैसे बनाना है? मेजरमेंट चार्ट आपको मैंने आपका प्रैक्टिकल वर्कबुक दिखाया ना, आप उसको नोट डाउन करेंगे एंड यू विल मेक द चार्ट.
Ma'am, also we have to make the measurements of the patterns from which we are taking the measurements, right? For the front, we are taking the measurements.
You can do either way. That's what I said na. You can, so in your practical workbook you will see size 12 का measurement दिया हुआ है, ठीक है?
Yes, ma'am.
So you can either take for your patterns, for the blocks that you make for your patterns, you can take the practical workbook measurements which is there for size 12, or you can simply the measurement chart that you have made, the person you have taken the measurements from, you can use their measurements for the pattern.
Okay.
Either
मैम जो
either of
मेजरमेंट
this is
चार्ट
okay.
है इसमें किसी का मेजर करके वो सारी मार्किंग करनी है मेजरमेंट चार्ट में.
संगीता, आपका प्रैक्टिकल वर्कबुक जो है आप उसका प्रिंट आउट निकाल सकते हो. प्रिंट आउट निकाल के आप उस पर लिख सकते हो. ऑल्टरनेटिवली आप एक कॉपी में वो सारे मेजरमेंट्स का नाम लिख के, जो जो चीज़ें लिखी हुई है वो सारे नाम लिख के, फॉर एग्जांपल अगर बस्ट गर्थ लिखा हुआ है, वेस्ट गर्थ लिखा हुआ है, आपको लिख के भी यू कैन राइट डाउन द मेजरमेंट्स. ईदर वे इज फाइन.
पर्सन का मेजर लेकर के ही तो करना है ना ये.
क्या बोल रहे हैं, फिर से बताइए.
इसका मेजरमेंट लेकर के उसको मार्किंग करनी है.
हाँ हाँ, ऑफ कोर्स किसी का मेजरमेंट लेके ही उस पे लिखना है.
ओके मैम.
You have to identify somebody. You can do it with a family member, with a friend. Anybody is okay. But importantly, you take the measurement of a woman, because the curves are more prominent in a woman than in a man. अगर आप किसी मेंसवेयर का मेजरमेंट लेंगे तो मान लीजिए वेस्ट एंड हिप में बहुत ज़्यादा डिफरेंसेस आपको मिलेगा नहीं. बस्ट एंड वेस्ट में भी एट टाइम्स ज़्यादा डिफरेंसेस दिखेगा नहीं. सो अगर वो डिफरेंसेस समझना है, सो इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट दैट यू टेक द मेजरमेंट ऑफ अ वुमन.
ओके मैम.
ओके.
मैम मेजरमेंट में जो था उसमें 3 अलग अलग वो दिए थे चार्ट, तो मैम तीनों बनाने हैं कि सिर्फ एक बनाना है?
फर्स्ट बनाना है एक्सरसाइज 1. Exercise
Okay.
1 and exercise 2 is the same. You can do
Yes, ma'am.
do this with different people. It's written there. You can do it with one friend for exercise 1, friend number 2 with exercise 2. It is the same for both the cases. So you can do with you can just, I'm asking you to do exercise 1. Exercise 3 is essentially the measurements of a kurta. सो अभी तो आप
Yes,
बॉडीज एंड स्कर्ट बना रहे हो, बट लेट्स से आप आगे जाके जब कभी अगर कुर्ता बनाने के लिए
ma'am.
मेजरमेंट्स लेना चाहोगे, सो यू कैन यूज दैट एज अ टेम्पलेट टू टेक योर मेजरमेंट्स.
Okay.
ओके.
Yes, ma'am.
एनी मोर क्वेरीज दैट यू हैव?
No, ma'am.
मेल करने के बाद ये सबमिट भी करना होगा कहीं पे?
सबमिट
Submit
एज इन
करने
यू
के
आर
बाद?
टेकिंग द फोटोज. फिजिकल कॉपी तो ये तो ऑनलाइन क्लासेस हो रहे हैं, तो of course you cannot submit the physical thing. The physical thing stays with you. You're taking photographs or scanning it properly and sending me the soft copy of all these materials. Emailing me.
Okay, ma'am.
Yesterday I gave you my email ID. It is also sent from your the IGNOU classroom.
जी मैम, मेल पे आ रखी है. मेल पे है आपकी आईडी.
हाँ ना, मेल पे मेरी आईडी है, तो मेल आप मुझे मेल कर देंगे. प्लीज एंश्योर दैट दिस मेल रीचेस मी बाय next Saturday. Sunday we have the class. Before the class, this mail reaches me. Okay.
Yes.
ओके.
I will evaluate only the people who have emailed me. Also, I will be only, I'm supposed to evaluate whoever shows me physically. like as in on screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other queries in the assignments? Anywhere? Any other queries in whatever we did?
Ma'am, can you please repeat again homework? Ma'am, something I
Okay, one last time. Please, everybody be attentive. Let me just say it one last time. You open your practical workbook. The exercise 1 has a measurement chart, a template of a measurement chart. There are certain things which are written. जैसे मान लीजिए वेस्ट गर्थ लिखा है, बस गर्थ लिखा है, सेंटर फ्रंट लेंथ, सेंटर बैक लेंथ, ये सब कुछ लिखा है. You have to fill up that chart. You can take print out of it and fill up the the boxes next to it, or you can just write it down in your copy and write the measurements. Okay, either way it is fine. You will take the photograph of that and send it to in the email. That is the first assignment. The second assignment is to make the bodice, the sleeve and the skirt. Now to make the bodice, sleeve and skirt, there are measurements that already said that you have to take. So for example, for bodice, what are the measurements? The center back length, the bust girth, waist girth, neck girth, shoulder length, across back and across front. Apart from this, you also would need the distance between the apex points, right? Now these measurements you can either, so these measurements are already given in your practical workbook for size 12. We spoke about sizing, right? In the first class we spoke about sizing, that there are different sizes. There is size 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So आपके वहाँ पे size 12 का measurement दिया हुआ है. You can take that as a template and make the bodice, or alternatively, whoever you have taken the measurements for assignment 1, the first assignment where the measurement chart has to be made, अब वहां से भी वो measurements को pick up कर सकते हो and make the bodice. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Second part clear. Second assignment का first part is bodice clear. Second part is to make a basic sleeve. Basic sleeve बनाने के लिए what are the measurements we need? We need sleeve length, bicep girth and wrist girth. Apart from that, whatever bodice you are making, you can also take the, you have to also take the arm sky from it, the armhole measurement from it again. But now once you have decided a bodies जिस size में बना रहे हो, make sure that the sleeve is also made in the exactly same size. If you have decided that you will make bodies in size 12, your sleeve is also in size 12. You cannot decide that I'll make bodice in bodice for my friend and sleeve in size 12. That will not work. Okay, whatever you have decided, you do it for same for all. Next we have skirt. For the skirt, what are the measurements we need? Again, we need waist girth, hip girth and length. And apart from that, if you're using it for a friend and your friend is maybe too slim or a little plus size, you might have to take the hip level. Otherwise 20 to 21 centimeters as the standard measurement from waist to hip level works. Okay, this is the third part of the assignment number 2. Assignment number 3 is you take pieces of fabric. Now this is 10 by 10 inches fabric swatches. Swatches is a piece of fabric. So you take 10 by 10 inches fabric piece, preferably muslin or any other sort of cotton fabric, solid cotton fabric where the stitches are visible, and you make 5 seams. What are the 5 seams you're making? You're making first the plain seam, second a top stitched plain seam, third a French seam, fourth a welt seam, and fifth a flattened felt seam. Okay.
okay.
For the seams, I would prefer that you use a different colored thread than the color of your fabric. So if muslin, for example, comes in a very, the color is about off-white colored fabric. Okay, it is like a, we call it gray fabric, as in it is an unfinished fabric. So if you, let's say, using muslin, use a do not use white or off-white. Use a contrasting color so that the stitches are visible. Clean stitches are visible. Um you can see in your practical workbook there are let me just open the practical workbook once more. there are, you know, different types of assignments given in here, which includes, let me just go a little down towards your seams. All these things we have already spoken about during the theory, hence I'm not overburdening you with assignments. So for the stitching part, it, you will see it starts with some, you know, stitching on templates. So they have given some templates, but I'm not giving you all those things. For example, you know, they have asked you to stitch in straight lines like this, or, you know, different lengths stitches, or doing corners like this, you know, this sort of things. But I'm not asking you, and you're supposed to do all these things on paper. Now why I am asking, not asking you to do this, see, there are shapes like this, a curved, corner and curve. But I'm assuming, because all of you have sewing machine, you already have some experience in stitching, yes or no?
Yes,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes. No, you have never, you have a sewing machine or not?
Yes, ma'am.
You,
Yes, ma'am, I have, but
you've never used it?
no, ma'am.
Okay, okay, you can try one of these few things. In that case, you can go to the, you know, practical workbook, and you know, take printouts of this, and you can try, start trying with, hence there is this gap. Okay, हमने एक वीक का गैप इसीलिए रखा कि even if people, you know, who are not, because I did not assume everybody would have a sewing machine. I was thinking that you have to get your hands on somehow, somewhere. So hence we kept this 1 week gap. So you can take printouts of this and try stitching on these lines, because initially people who have used sewing machine must be aware that initially the control is one thing. So how to move the fabric, how to, you know, do those things is also a part of, you know, handling sewing machine. So you can, if you have, if any of you have never used sewing machine, you can start with doing these things. However, this is not mandatory for me, that you do it. But if you have never done it, it is a good idea that you start by stitching these lines, because it will give you a very good control over the movement of the machine. Then here comes the next part, is the seam types, which I just showed you, that there are different seams, because these are, you know, so for example, plain seam, and the ones we have already spoken about. So again, you can do it in that way. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
uh, Okay, then in that case, if somebody else has any other queries, in case you're not very comfortable with sewing machines again, or do not have a sewing machine, or cannot get your hands on a sewing machine, you can do with hand stitching as well. I'm pretty sure, because you are, everybody's does a certification course because you're interested in this field, and the very basic thing, you know, is hand stitching. I'm very confident about it. So if you see that you're not getting that speed, or is not very comfortable with sewing machines, then alternatively what you can do is you can simply stitch it by hand. That will also be acceptable. Okay. Okay, then I think we can wrap the session in that case. If anybody else doesn't have any question, Sharmishta, do you want to say something? Okay, then let's wrap the session. I see you next week, next Sunday. Make sure you are connected with good network and can switch on your videos. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, Amit, you wanted to ask something? Amit has raised a hand apparently. Do you want to ask something, Amit?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, Amit.
This Sunday, what will be the timing?
Sunday it is 11 to 1. Don't you, haven't you received an email regarding the revised schedule? Nobody received an email regarding the revised schedule?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
How can somebody receive and somebody did not? It's not possible, right? Either all of you received or none of you did. Anyways, the revised, according to the revised schedule, tomorrow you have a class with Shobha ma'am from 4 to 6, and the class that I had with you has been postponed to next Sunday, 5th of May, from 11 to 1 p.m.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Please go through your mail. You must have received an revised schedule. Amit, is that okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Please make sure everybody emails me by Saturday. Okay? By 4th of May, everybody
Yes,
emails.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you. Have a
Thank you,
good
ma'am.
day.
You too, ma'am. Thank you.